History. Chapter 2. The Growth of Nationalism. Part 2. The French Revolution, Causes and Background. Welcome back, students. In Part 1, we learned how American colonists fought for and won their independence. Now we turn to France, where an even more dramatic revolution would take place. The French Revolution of 1789 was a milestone and major turning point in human history. It revolutionized the social, economic, and political fabric not only of France but of all Europe and eventually almost the entire world. The French social system, the ancient regime. To understand why the French Revolution happened, we must first understand French society before the revolution. This old social order was called the ancient regime, meaning old regime in French. French society was essentially feudal and was rigidly divided into three main classes called estates. Think of these estates as three separate worlds existing in the same country, with completely different lives and privileges. The first estate consisted of the clergy, all the church officials from the Pope's representatives to local priests. They were very powerful because the Catholic Church owned vast amounts of land and wealth in France. The clergy numbered only about 130,000 people out of France's population of 25 million. The second estate consisted of the nobles and their families. These were people who had inherited titles like duke, count, or baron. They owned most of the land and held all important positions in government and military. The nobility numbered only about 400,000 people. The third estate was composed of everyone else, about 95% of the population. This included peasants who worked the land, artisans and workers in towns, and the middle class. The middle class, called the bourgeoisie, consisted of merchants, manufacturers, bankers, and professionals like lawyers, doctors, and teachers. Here's what made this system so unjust. The first and second estates, less than 5% of the population, owned practically all the land in France but paid no taxes at all. They enjoyed numerous privileges, lived in luxury and comfort, and had special legal rights. The third estate, on the other hand, 95% of the population, shouldered the entire burden of taxation but had no privileges whatsoever. Taxes were imposed on everything, including basic necessities like salt. Life was extremely hard, especially for poor peasants who had to pay feudal dues to their lords on top of government taxes. The growing power of the middle class. By the 18th century, something important was happening. The middle class had become economically powerful through trade and business. Wealthy merchants and professionals had accumulated great fortunes, sometimes more money than many nobles. However, despite their economic power, the middle class was denied social equality and political rights. A wealthy merchant was still considered socially inferior to a poor noble simply because of birth. The middle class couldn't hold high government positions or military ranks, which were reserved for nobles. This caused tremendous resentment. The middle class felt it was absurd that their birth prevented them from having influence in society despite their wealth, education, and abilities. They wanted a system based on merit, not hereditary privilege. An inefficient, corrupt administration. The French government was corrupt and inefficient. Officials were selfish and unconcerned about people's welfare. Many positions in government were bought and sold like property. People who purchased positions wanted to profit from them, so they took bribes and exploited the people they were supposed to serve. At the top was King Louis XVI, who ruled as an absolute monarch. He enjoyed unlimited power, his will was law, and there was no parliament to check his authority. French kings claimed to rule by divine right, meaning they believed God had chosen them to rule and they were answerable only to God, not to the people. Louis XVI was a weak, pleasure-loving, and extravagant king. He was completely ignorant of and indifferent to the sufferings of common people. His wife, Marie Antoinette, was beautiful, ambitious, and even more extravagant. Together they squandered enormous sums on festivities, palaces, and pleasures, emptying the royal treasury. There's a famous, though possibly untrue, story that when told poor people had no bread to eat, Marie Antoinette replied, "Let them eat cake." Whether she actually said this or not, the story captured people's anger at the royal family's complete disconnect from ordinary people's struggles. Influence of philosophers and American Revolution. The common people of France, especially the educated middle class, were greatly inspired by revolutionary writings of famous French philosophers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Montesquieu. Voltaire attacked the church and criticized religious intolerance and superstition. He advocated for freedom of thought and expression. Rousseau wrote that all men are born free and equal. He argued that governments get their authority from the people, not from God. In his book, The Social Contract, he wrote that subjects have the right to overthrow a king who doesn't rule according to the general will of the people. This was an incredibly radical idea. Montesquieu proposed the separation of powers in government, dividing authority between legislative, executive, and judicial branches so no single person or group could become too powerful. These philosophers propagated ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Their writings created an intellectual awakening in France. Through books, pamphlets, and discussions in cafes and salons, revolutionary ideas spread throughout French society. The American Revolution also greatly influenced the French. French generals and soldiers had fought alongside Americans in their war for independence. When they returned to France, they brought back revolutionary ideas. They told stories of Americans successfully overthrowing British rule and establishing a democratic republic. They asked, "If Americans can do it, why can't we?" The American Revolution proved that revolution was possible, that common people could defeat a powerful monarchy, and that democratic government could work. This enthused French people and encouraged them to fight against their own unjust, despotic government. Financial crisis. By the late 1780s, France faced a severe financial crisis. Years of extravagant spending by the royal court, expensive wars, and an unfair tax system had emptied the treasury. The government was deeply in debt and desperately needed money. Louis XVI's finance ministers advised him to tax the nobles and clergy, the wealthy classes who had never paid taxes, but the nobles refused and demanded that the king call a meeting of the Estates General, an assembly representing all three estates that hadn't met since 1614. Louis XVI finally agreed to call the Estates General in 1789, hoping to find a solution to the financial crisis. He didn't realize he was lighting a fuse that would explode into revolution. Conclusion of Part 2. French society before the revolution was deeply unjust and unequal. The privileged few lived in luxury while the masses suffered. The middle class had economic power but no political rights. Enlightenment ideas and the American example inspired people to demand change. Financial crisis forced the king to call the Estates General. The stage was set for revolution. In Part 3, we'll see how the revolution actually unfolded, the dramatic events that overthrew the monarchy and changed France forever.